Great being here. Great being just after hearing about how to hack cars. And our panel would be with aiming at the software side of the vehicle. So quite a challenge. Let's open up by introducing the panel members, who they are, and what's their activity within their organization. So please, Gideon.
Hello, my name is Gideon Kedem.
Gideon,
I'm the head of automotive business in Valens. Valens is an Israeli fabless semiconductor focusing on high speed, high bandwidth in-vehicle connectivity.
So good afternoon, Jean-François Salessi, in charge of innovation, advanced engineering and technologies within Renault Group, so part of the alliance.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rinat Yogev. I'm a partner with GM Ventures based here in Israel and leading investment activities in Israel, Europe, and the Gulf countries. Great to be here.
Hello. Too strong. Hello, everyone. I'm David Barzilai, VP Sales and Marketing at Karamba Security. Karamba offers product security to OEMs and suppliers, and we enable them to protect their ECUs and vehicle types end-to-end.
Thank you. So I would like to open and to be a bit provocative and superficial and describe the consumer coming to a dealership to pick a new car. So, back in the old days, I would say 20 years ago, but also 10 years ago, they would come in and look at the car and start asking questions mainly about the mechanics. They would ask about the engine, horsepower, fuel consumption, and so on. I don't know how many of you have been in dealerships lately and hearing from the sellers in the dealership describing that the customers today are asking them, what about the touch screen? What size of the touch screen? What apps do you have on the screen? What's the connectivity, the speed? So I think that today we see more and more the customers moving to look at the car just as they are picking a new laptop or a new mobile phone. That's the mindset that is changing. Rinat, if I can start with you, how is the OEM, like General Motors, approaching the concept of SDV, and what's unique in GM's approach?
So thanks, Avi. So I'll start a little bit high level, right? So GM's and its vision is around zero congestion, zero emissions, and zero crashes. Its intention is to really be the platform innovator, and it's doing so in two ways, right? It's focused on building the Ultium platform, which is our battery technology hardware platform, as well as Ultifi, our SDV, our software architecture for the vehicle. And those platforms, the Ultium and the Ultifi, will work very closely and be very closely integrated to really connect and provide our customers a highly digital experience. And when we think about the vision, we're also thinking about building electric, autonomous, and connected vehicles for the future. So in terms of the Ultifi platform, it's a modular platform. It's an end-to-end. It will allow GM to provide features and applications and to create a really highly personalized experience in real time for the end customers. It will allow for over-the-air updates. It will allow for faster software development and deployment within the vehicle. and it'll be done by GM developers as well as third-party providers. So in areas where you could see this in terms of use cases, you would see it, for example, whether it's in cybersecurity or V2X, whether it's new infotainment features, in safety features with our OnStar service that we have for safety. We're going to see it across the board. And we're going to, Altify will come into vehicles as early as in 2023 with models such as the Cadillac Lyriq and the Silverado EV.
Thank you. Going to you, Jean-Francois. You know, in our early talk, I understand that Renault is undergoing you called it a technological revolution, driven by the software. How do you describe the technological adoption of the software, and what does it require from an OEM to go that path?
Yeah. So first of all, we do recognize that any one of us, I'm sure all of you in the room, we are heavily connected. So it's our daily life. So we cannot live with a smartphone. I have even two on myself today. So so a smartphone is absolutely key today. And so we do recognize that automotive customers will go the same path. So the cars that we will sell in the coming years at Renault within the Alliance are more and more connected, smarter, more customized. So you were using the word personalized. So it's the same idea. So personalization through software. So that's fully recognized. And basically the idea is to have through software updates that will take place along the life cycle of the vehicle, and to have a better car or better experience, maybe not day after day, but at least month after month. And so that's one part of the acknowledgement that we make on this industry, which is shifting very rapidly towards connected vehicle. Doing that and to make that happen, so we are going into a revolution, as you are saying, because we have to bring together the tech enablers to make that happen. So it's and I could simplify that into three main pillars. The first one is around the software itself. So we have rethought the software architecture that we have on board our cars, decoupling hardware from software, and making sure that the software platform that we are developing is open to third parties, features and modules that we can containerize and plug into the software architecture, so that we bring additional value for the end customer. So that's one part, that's software. Then the software needs some kind of a soil to work. So this is the electrical architecture or the electronic architecture. And we have as well rethought totally the concept there. So we are fading away from the classical 50 to 100 ECUs, plenty of cans, lean, and all that stuff. So we are fading away from that and going towards a more centralized architecture with centralized compute, high power that we have there to manage all the supervision of the car, control of the car, OTA capability that we have there as well, and around this central compute, we are developing zonal ECUs that will smartly distribute power and signals to sensor and actuators in time-triggered manners. And last but not least, as we are more and more connected, we have to have a third pillar in terms of technology, which is around cyber security, because connectivity means surface of attacks. And so we want to make sure that we do not jeopardize the experience of our customers. And so we design for cyber, it's cyber-proofed by design. And this is something that we take as well very seriously.
Thank you. Gideon, as the hardware provider in the group that allows the OEM to better connect different devices, and you'll talk obviously about streaming it also, how do you see the barriers, the key technological barriers to do exactly what Jean-Francois and Rinat just described as their architecture?
Yes, well, definitely there are several aspects or layers of barriers. First of all, the software-defined vehicle, by its name, right? It's mainly focusing on software, and everybody are talking about the software level application. And you see barriers, which some of them are regulatory barriers, but there's also a huge challenge for all the OEMs to develop the required software. Whenever you talk to an OEM today, they're really struggling with putting in place all the resources. And on top of that, there is the need for interoperability such that many players can come into the game and contribute to this ecosystem. But as you have said, the software-defined vehicle have several layers, and the foundation is the hardware where everything sits on top. And this hardware for the software-defined vehicle needs to be very resilient and needs to be what we call future-proof, meaning it needs to be scalable, and there's need to be a total separation between the hardware to the software, such that on the same level of, on the same platform of hardware, which is scalable, different generation of software can be deployed. So the requirements from the hardware are very strict. It needs to be very resilient, very immune, very scalable, and this is exactly where MIPI A-PHY, the new standard, the new technology that we are driving with our partners in the industry, come to play and enable, right, the right foundation, the future-proof hardware for serving the software-defined vehicle.
Thank you. David, coming to you, we heard from Jean-Francois, and also the previous interview here was on cyber attacks. So cyber obviously become crucial element within the SDV. How do you tackle that when we are talking about it being dynamic, being all the time you have to update the system? So how do you provide the solution?
Thank you, Avi. So indeed, the Teslification of the industry, exactly as mentioned here by Rinat and Jean-Francois, when OEMs see the car as a service platform, as a software platform, which is continuously updated, is actually quite a good thing for hackers. And the reason is that hackers like connected systems that have open ports for updates, and every new version, software release, is by design has some new vulnerabilities that could be exploited by hackers. However, unlike mobile phones or even data center servers where attacks compromise personal data or business data, as we know, hacking of the software-defined vehicle could result in safety issues, even loss of lives. But it's not only that, it's also the scale. So if we look at the famous Jeep Cherokee attack, it was one car exploited of one specific vulnerability, and it resulted with a recall of 1.4 million vehicles because all those vehicles use the same software. So now comes the question, what to do? And as a matter of fact, I think to our delight as a society, regulators have decided that we should not just leave it to the expertise of OEMs. And there's a major difference in software-defined vehicles because you have established OEMs like GM and Renault. They have also quite significant knowledge of cybersecurity, but you have more than 100 new OEMs in China alone for EV. What do they know about cybersecurity? Almost nothing. And as such, the regulators have come up with quite recent regulation, the UNR 155, that cross-references a standard ISO 21434. And what they do is actually to mandate the OEMs to implement best practices of cybersecurity throughout the life cycle of the ECU and the vehicle type. Now, OEMs are the target because they also have the buying power. So they impose those best practices from design, when you do threat analysis and risk assessment, to code review, to deployment, embedded controls, and even when the car is running on the road, ongoing vulnerability management for every new version. every new software must be complied with those regulations to protect us as a society.
Thank you. Rinat, coming back to you, you wear two hats. One is the general GM, and the other one is the GM venture capital arm. Looking at your main activity in the venture capital, how do you perform in order to supply additional ideas, connections, and solutions that come from outside the organization? If you can elaborate on that and what you are looking for in terms of, the startups out there.
Absolutely. So let me talk a little bit about GM Ventures and what we're doing. So at GM Ventures, I talked about GM's vision, and so our intention with GM Ventures is really to accelerate GM's transformation right into an all-electric future, as well as to become a platform innovator. And so we have four main areas or pillars that we're focused on. As Wade Sheffer, Managing Director of the team, mentioned earlier today in the keynote, it's around electrification, autonomous experience, both in the vehicle and outside the vehicle. It's around connecting to the customer, our key focus as GM, as well as the digital enterprise. So we're looking at novel technologies beyond mobility, also at the digital enterprise. And so when we're speaking about SDV and software platform, that really falls squarely within our digital enterprise. Certain types of areas that we're focusing on relate to cyber, to AI, to biometrics, to new business solutions. We work with startups. We're primarily focused on early stage startups, but we focus in terms of support those startup collaborations with GM through connecting them to our partners, connecting them to our technical experts, our manufacturing expertise, and we support those portfolio companies as well as the engagement. And the intention is always to be the first and most valued customer for those startups. And so, as I mentioned, kind of around SDV, we have many startups here today, many technology companies today. So, it'd be great to connect. Whether it's here at EcoMotion or afterwards, please reach out. We'd be glad to engage as it relates to SDV and beyond.
Thank you. Jean-Francois, you talked about, the change that, the conceptual change of having a SDV as the main part of the vehicle. For surely it influences also the organization, how the organization, focus and structure itself. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So shifting towards SDV, so software-defined vehicle. So as mentioned earlier, we have resolved the architecture itself. So, but then it's like buying a Ferrari and not having the driving license if you don't know how to use it. So you have to rethink the way you work. And the first thing that we have done, first of all, is to integrate, to ingest some software capabilities. So that's first very important point. So we did acquire a team of software specialists. It's roughly 600 people that we have in-house. It's called the Software Factory. And they are highly specialized into software, coming from Intel, in fact. So it was done back in 2017. And we have also revisited the way we work in terms of software, introducing agile methodologies to speed up the development time frame when developing solution. Because if you are still stuck with the classical 3 to 4 years delay when developing a solution for customers, you can have SDV, but it is useless. So first point, acquiring some software capabilities and revisiting as well the way we develop software. So the second point is the way we work with third parties. SDV opens up the capability of docking or containerizing the solution from third parties on the software standpoint. And so we did open up the company towards startups and third parties. And so we do that typically in Israel, so fully recognizing the innovation capability that you have there. We do that through a small lab that we have here, scouting the technologies which are accessible, poking those technologies, and eventually transforming those into a real product in the streets. And we do that as well back in France. This year we have created something which is called Software Republic. And it's a team with big tech companies in France, such as Orange, Thales, Atos, those type of companies. And there again, we are scouting some startups and bringing those solutions into the software platform that we have developed within Renault. So yes, significant change internally, but as well in the way we work with external bodies.
Do you have any example of startups that are already into that?
Clear examples. Taking. I don't have let me think about that. So it's I don't have a clear example in my mind now. Still fresh in the company as well. So so I did join Renault. I didn't mention that only 4 months ago. So it's
but it's a good example of what you describe coming outside of the company itself from a more software.
But talking about Valens is on the show today. I mean, we have discussion with them, of course, and so it's so that's one example. So they are not into our products yet, but who knows? So that's a good example.
Thank you. Gideon and David, you were talking. I'll start with you, David. You were talking about standard and the importance of standard and the risk of non-compliance with those standards. What's your take on that, and what's your tip for other startups with regard to adopting the standard as early as possible?
So the idea of the standard is that it's not really your discretion. You must do it. And after the standards were ratified, one of them was late 2020, and the more recent one was August 2021, very recent. But nevertheless, markets were given the discretion to decide when they want to adapt it. The EU was first, and then Japan, Korea, China now issued its first release. Now this has dramatic consequences for the industry because it's not like the safety crash test system where you could be ranked from 1 star to 1.5. It's fail pass. If you didn't pass, you cannot sell the vehicle type. And as of July 2022, 2 months from now, every new vehicle type in the EU must comply. As of July 2024, every new car, doesn't matter, all the new model type must comply. What does it mean? It means, and this is something that we saw, OEMs are mandated. Now they come with requirements to their suppliers. Suppliers were not so much privy with that regulation, and now they are faced with last-minute change requests in order to meet the regulation. Otherwise, the vehicle type cannot be sold. It has dramatic consequences on the industry as far as we see it.
Gideon, would you like to?
I'd like maybe to add on that and take the angle of standards not so much as a regulatory thing or limiting thing, but more something which is enabling a new opportunity. So I think the industry as a whole cannot move forward without deploying the technology over standards. I think that standards are lowering the barrier of entry to new companies. Standards are helping to build strong ecosystem around them, and I think standards are securing growth opportunity for the industry. We heard earlier from Jean-Francois that Renault is now changing the architecture into central computing from the distributed computing. We hear this from many OEMs, and I think that as we look into this, now that the compute is moving to the central, how are you going to connect all the different sensors around the car, the cameras, the radars, the lidars, into the central compute in an effective and efficient way? The industry cannot move forward without standardization of this aspect. I think the industry cannot rely on proprietary solution anymore, and you must have standard to solve this challenging issue such that many players can contribute and deliver the future-proof hardware for the software-defined vehicle. And this is exactly what we are focusing on, pushing standardization into the challenge of connectivity for the software-defined vehicle. I've mentioned A-PHY standard, the new MIPI standard, which is serving this. We work with many partners around the world and with many OEMs, and this has been deployed successfully. And I think the foundation of this future-proof hardware over standard is also reflecting towards the higher level of software. So you have the foundation based on standard, the software layer based on standardization. This is how you build a strong ecosystem that can serve the challenges of software-defined vehicle.
Thank you. We've just, touched upon the surface. We didn't have sufficient time to go deeper, and I'm sure that I know, but we're out of time, and many additional panels are expected. So you are mostly welcome to catch any of us afterwards with additional questions or comments or anything else. Thank you very much. I believe that we gave some thoughts to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.